Hey, let me tell you a story. It started with a girl. Blonde, quiet, always polite. She worked at a local gym. Clean shoes, tight ponytail, same playlist every shift. Nothing about her seemed strange. That's why it worked. The man she chose was easy, mid-30s, tattoo on his wrist, expensive watch, gym rat with a wandering eye. He flirted without thinking, laughed aloud, touched her arm once when he thought no one saw. He didn't know he was being watched. For weeks, the family observed him. His routine, his habits, where he parked, what time he came, what kind of women he followed on his phone. He failed their test before he ever said a word. One night, after her shift, she waited by the lockers and told him her car wouldn't start. She smiled like it was nothing. He offered a ride without hesitation. She guided him to a neighborhood just outside of town. Big trees, wide lawns, porch lights glowing like halos. The house looked normal, clean siding, white fence, 2-story, American flag above the door. Inside, everything smelled like fresh lemon and roast chicken. A woman in an apron greeted him like an old friend. The father stepped in from the backyard, wiping soil from his hands. They shook hands, smiled, offered dinner. He hesitated for a second, just a second, but the girl nudged him with her shoulder and whispered, "Come on, they're cool." It was that whisper that sealed it. Dinner was homemade. Steamed vegetables, mashed potatoes, turkey, one long table, family photos on the walls, soft classical, music playing low. Everyone laughed, everyone smiled. The girl filled his glass with dark soda. She said nothing. Just poured, gently, slowly, with both hands. He didn't feel the pill dissolve. He didn't notice the way the mother glanced at the father, or the way the boy at the end of the table didn't speak at all. 10 minutes later, the room began to tilt. His muscles felt loose, his mouth dry. The father asked him a question, something about where he worked. The mother offered more bread. The girl smiled again, her hand touched his wrist. He blinked, everything faded. The lights melted, voices slowed down, his spine slumped. He reached for his glass but missed. No one stood up. No one screamed. They just watched, calm, prepared. When his head hit the edge of the plate, they already knew he wouldn't remember anything. That was the point. He wouldn't remember leaving the gym. He wouldn't remember the drive. He wouldn't remember the house, or the dinner, or the family, just silence. And then, nothing. He woke up somewhere, cold, not freezing, just cold enough to make his skin tighten. The room had no windows, no light source he could see, only the low hum of something electric behind the walls. His arms were tied, not rope. Straps, thick, padded, precise. His legs to a metal chair. Beneath him, bolted to the floor. He tried to speak, but his tongue felt swollen, thick, like it didn't belong to him. He blinked, once, twice, still nothing. Then a door opened, quiet, smooth. The boy stepped in, maybe 17, hair combed neatly, clean clothes. He didn't speak, just stood there watching. Holding a notebook, the man mumbled something, slurred, nonsense. The boy wrote something down. A few seconds later, the door closed again. Darkness returned. That was day 1, or maybe day 2. Time didn't work here. No clocks, no morning, no night. Just cycles, food, lights, water, then dark again. Each day a different member of the family entered. Sometimes the girl, sometimes the mother. They never hurt him, not physically. They just asked questions, read from pages, made him listen, told him what he had done, who he was, what he deserved. At first he laughed, denied everything. He called them sick, called them crazy. That didn't last long. The pills in his food made sure of that. Not enough to knock him out, just enough to twist his balance, blur his thoughts, muffle time. They showed him pictures, screenshots, messages, footage, things he had forgotten, things he thought no one ever saw. It wasn't just the flirting. It was worse. Lies, manipulations, broken promises. One girl was 17, another had a boyfriend, another cried after he ghosted her, another tried to hurt herself. The family had all of it, every message, every photo, every thread. He said it wasn't a crime. They said it didn't matter. They weren't the law. They were something older, something deeper. They believed in consequence, not punishment. They didn't need handcuffs or judges, just conviction. He started to cry. They let him, gave him tissues. Let him speak, let him scream. It didn't change anything. The chair stayed, the door stayed. The boy kept writing, the girl kept watching. The mother prayed without sound. And the father didn't show up. Not yet, but he would. He always came last. The one who decided when it ended. The one who cleaned, the one who called it balance. He was waiting, watching, measuring how long the man would last before breaking. And when he did, the door would open again, not for conversation, but for the end. When the father finally appeared, he didn't look like a monster. He looked like a man who fixed things. Short sleeves, work boots, faded jeans. His hands were clean but rough. He stepped into the room without speaking. No clipboard, no tools, just presence. He stood across from the chair, quiet, measured. The man tied down tried to speak, but nothing came out. His throat was to dry. The father looked at him for a long time. Then he sat down in a chair that hadn't been there before. Like it appeared just for him, he folded his hands. Then he began to talk. Not loud, not angry, just clear. He told a story. Not about the man in the chair. About himself. About a time when he was young. About a mistake, a moment of weakness. A life ruined by one decision, then another, then another. He didn't speak with guilt. He spoke with distance, as if telling it about someone else. When he finished, he looked the man in the eyes and asked a single question. Do you believe people like us should walk free? The man didn't answer, couldn't. The father nodded, stood up, left the room. That was the last conversation. What came next had no words, only actions. The routine stopped. No more food, no more lights, no more soft voices, only silence. The strap stayed, the chair stayed. The air got heavier, the door stayed closed. Then the cleaning began, not his room. Other rooms, floors, walls, plastic going up. Sounds of hammering, nails, pipes, the rhythm of work, purposeful, intentional. Someone was preparing something. Somewhere deeper in the house, he heard the girl once, laughing, not cruelly, just casually, like she was on the phone, like life continued outside the walls. He screamed, no one came. He begged, no one listened. At night he could hear prayers, mumbled, layered, voices overlapping in different rooms, like they were rehearsing, or reciting. The boy entered one more time, only to take a final note. He looked at the man, wrote a single sentence, then walked out. This time he locked the door from the outside with a new sound. A bolt, heavy, final. The man knew what it meant. He didn't ask for mercy, not anymore. He knew there would be none. The air smelled like bleach now, and metal, and something older. He tried to prepare himself, but there was no way to do that. Not here. In this house. Not with this family. They didn't see themselves as killers. They saw themselves as cleaners. And he was just another mess. They brought him out in the morning. Not carried, not dragged. He walked, weak, shaking, but still on his own feet. The straps were gone. In their place was silence. He was barefoot, shirtless, led down a hallway he had never seen before. The walls were white, clean, smelled of pine and lemon. At the end of the hall, a door was open. Inside the room was a single table for chairs, and the family, waiting, calm. The girl was seated, her hair brushed, hands folded. The boy sat beside her, still holding the notebook. The mother poured tea into matching cups. The father stood behind them all, silent, watching. There was a fifth chair across from them. He sat down without being told. His body knew what to do even if his mind didn't. The mother pushed a cup toward him. It was warm. He didn't touch it. The girl looked at him and asked if he remembered why he was there. He nodded. His voice didn't work anymore. The father leaned forward and asked if he was ready. He didn't answer. The boy wrote something in the notebook, then closed it. The mother reached into a drawer, pulled out something small, round, silver. She placed it on the table in front of him. It looked like a coin, but it wasn't. It was flat, cold, weighted, a symbol. The girl said one more sentence, "You are forgiven." Then they stood up, all at once, left the room, closed the door behind them, and locked it. He stared at the object for hours, maybe days. No food came, no water, no light. Just that thing on the table and a chair that didn't move. When the door finally opened again, it wasn't for him. A new person entered, dazed, confused, just like he had been. Young, nervous, led by the girl. The cycle had started again. The man tried to speak, tried to warn him. But his voice was gone, his body too weak. His thoughts fractured. The family smiled behind the glass, observing, judging, deciding. He wasn't part of the next cleansing. He was just a shadow now, a reminder, a lesson. And when the sun set behind that house once again, the windows glowed soft and golden. The lawn was perfect. The flag moved gently in the breeze. Everything looked normal. Everything looked safe. Somewhere inside someone else was learning what consequence felt like. And outside the girl waved goodbye to a neighbor walking a dog, smiling like she had nothing to hide, like the world was fine, like the world was fair, like family still meant something. Subscribe if you're still breathing.